Es un placer ir creciendo un poco en nuestro standing en el Forex Day. Hace 3 o 4 años, cuando vinimos por primera vez, no nos conocía ni el tato. Y luego cada año pues, tenemos la suerte aquí de encontrarnos con una comunidad de usuarios que se han ido sumando a un viaje que emprendimos mi hermano y yo. Y aquí lo interesante no soy yo, es mi hermano, que está por ahí, pero el cobarde nunca sale a hablar. Mi hermano es trader, lo que antes conocía la gente como pues, retail o minorista, que es un término como, pues, más o menos como discapacitado, ¿no? De alguna manera, si eres inteligente, eres trader en un banco y si no, eres trader minorista, ¿no? Y yo es que mi hermano es la persona más brillante que he conocido nunca. O sea, mi hermano es un tío que con temas de números, en el póker, en el ajedrez, o sea, es que gana a cualquiera en según qué cosas de esas, ¿no? Y mi hermano nunca ha querido trabajar para nadie. Pero mi padre no cree en esto de buscarte la vida por ti mismo, ¿no? Entonces, pues hizo una carrera como ingeniero de caminos y a él lo que siempre le habían gustado eran los mercados, ¿no? Entonces, mientras iba haciendo pues, obras imposibles en diferentes sitios, seguía con su máster en bolsa, tal, no sé qué, no sé cuántos, perdió dinero, como perdéis todos, entre ellos dinero mío también al principio, y con el paso del tiempo pues sí que perseverando y pues profundizando en los conceptos, llegó a un momento en el que tenía una estrategia ganadora y quiso vivir de todo esto, ¿no? Y se encontró con ese techo de cristal del trader minorista. Entonces dice, mira, yo es que llevo ya 3 años con una estrategia ganando un 20% al año, pero pues tengo 20.000 euros. Entonces, si tengo 20.000 euros, gano un 20% al año, yo con 4.000 euros no puedo plantearme un proyecto vital. Entonces, lo que quiero es gestionar dinero de terceros, porque claro, los hedge funds es lo que hacen, ¿no? Ellos pues hacen crecer el dinero al 20%, en lugar de gestionar sus 20.000 euros, pues gestionan 10 millones y claro, si tienes 10 millones bajo gestión, ganas un 20% y cobras un 20% de ese 20%, pues al año ganas 400.000 euros por hacer lo mismo desde tu casa que hace ese señor que lleva la corbata, que en teoría es el que es el profesional, ¿no? Entonces vivimos en una época en la que eso de lo que define profesional está cambiando, ¿no? ¿Qué hace alguien profesional? ¿Llevar una corbata y trabajar en un banco y recomendar una serie de productos que me dan más comisiones que otros y por lo tanto pues poner antes mi interés que el de los clientes, o sentarme todos los días con disciplina férrea, me vayan bien las cosas, me vayan mal las cosas, y pelearme para conseguir ese 20% al año operando en el mercado? Pues yo creo que profesional es el que hace eso bien, no el que lleva una corbata. Y sin embargo, pues vivimos en un mundo en el que precisamente esa barrera de poder llegar a gestionar dinero de terceros era muy difícil de salvar. Y estábamos en el año 2012 y dijimos, si es que si mi hermano tiene este problema, tiene que haber mucha gente que conozca Internet, que le gusten los mercados y que se plantee la posibilidad de vivir de esto, pero con tus 20.000 euros es que da igual lo bien que lo hagas, es que en la vida vas a vivir de esto, ¿no? ¿Cómo resolver ese problema? Y nos dimos cuenta de, jolín, es que igual que hay un mercado para cotizar acciones en una empresa, para que una empresa pueda financiarse, debería de haber un mercado de traders en el que los traders pudieran cotizar igual que en Amazon y que la gente pudiera comprar las estrategias, les pagase ese mismo 20% que están cobrando los fondos y que gane el mejor con toda la transparencia, ¿no? Que todo el mundo ponga cuánto gana de verdad, no porque trabaja en tal banco y lleva una corbata más bonita que el otro, no. A mí ponme tu track record, porque lo demás, pues cualquiera vende la moto, ¿no? Y la verdad es que es un privilegio poder presentaros hoy, ya no a mi hermano que está ahí detrás, pero Darwinex se ha convertido en un mercado en el que cotizan pues, miles de traders ya a nivel mundial. Tenemos traders en 100 países que lo que buscan es demostrar cómo son capaces de batir al mercado y sobre todo están disponibles para todos y cualquiera de vosotros. O sea, si vosotros tenéis un móvil Android, ahora mismo os podéis bajar una aplicación Android, la aplicación Darwinex, y cualquiera de los track records que veáis aquí, de las 4 personas con las que vamos a estar hablando, pues les podéis comprar y les podéis vender. Y nada os separa de eso porque no hay una regulación que permita jugar solo a los mayores, ¿no? Ahora podemos jugar todos y demostrar de forma darwiniana quién es apto y quién no lo es. La mayoría de la gente no lo es, pero tengo el privilegio de presentaros hoy aquí a 4 traders que ya pues, llevan un track record, que tiene una historia personal que yo creo que es muy inspiradora. A mí es lo que más me motiva de todo esto. Y me gustaría hacerle una serie de preguntas para que les podáis conocer, como he tenido el privilegio de conocerle yo en este periodo que los conozco. Así que vamos a hablar como un cuarto de hora, 20 minutos, y me gustaría al final dejar un turno de ruegos y preguntas. Si no lo podemos hacer aquí, que no hemos podido hacerlo antes, por ejemplo, en la otra ponencia, pues está nuestro stand ahí a la salida, el stand de Darwinex, y estaremos encantados de retomar cualquier conversación que surja. Entonces me siento, porque llevo la espalda también de estar todo el día ya destrozado, y voy a hacer un par de preguntas. Os presento a nuestro panel. Tenemos aquí a Jesús, Ali, que es empezó siendo cliente y ahora es empleado de Darwinex. Tenemos a David y a Javier, y lo más importante de todo, aparte de sus caras y que os cuenten su historia personal, detrás vais a ver el track record. Aquí mi compañero Jesús os irá poniendo pues, las notas de cada uno, ¿no? Entonces, una de las cosas que a mí más me llama la atención es saber a qué se dedica esta gente, ¿no? O sea, ¿son traders profesionales o no? ¿Qué se dedican en el día a día, ¿no? Entonces me gustaría, pues por ejemplo, David, que nos cuentes tú cómo llegas a esto del trading y qué haces además del trading.
Yo, profesional, bueno, lo primero, muchas gracias quería darte, Juan, por invitarnos y tener voz aquí y poder contar pues nuestras experiencias también, ¿no? Yo soy músico profesional, me dedico a la música, no tiene nada que ver con el tema de la economía, pero siempre me ha encantado el tema tecnológico y económico y todo lo que está relacionado con lo mismo. Y de ahí viene, pues bueno, yo me inicié en la parte de acciones, fondos de inversión, y hace pues 9 años más o menos pues empecé con el mundo del Forex descubriéndolo. Al final empiezas, pues como yo creo que empezamos todo el mundo, cometiendo errores a tropel, no sabes lo que es un lote, no sabes lo que es nada de lo que va, ¿no?, alrededor del mundo del Forex, y vas aprendiendo. Poco a poco vas aprendiendo un poco lo que significa, las pegas que tiene, los riesgos que se corren. Y al cabo de los años, bueno, me junté también con mi socio, que es con el que tenemos el Darwin nuestro, el Long Vision, que el Darwin es LVS, y pues fuimos desarrollando ideas, estrategias. Empezamos de una manera manual, que luego y automática, pero luego nos dimos cuenta que para lo nuestro es todo automático, es lo mejor para nosotros. Y al cabo de años, pues bueno, hemos desarrollado esta estrategia con la que nos sentimos a gusto, y la verdad es que...
Os sentís a gusto, ¿no? Os sentiríais a gusto a uno con el track record ahí detrás, ¿no?, que está poniendo. Por cierto, si alguien quiere buscar la estrategia en su móvil o en esto, buscando LVS en Google Chrome, LVS Darwinex, os lleva directamente al track record suyo. Y lo interesante de todo esto es eso, que pues con un poco de esfuerzo tecnológico les hemos convertido en un activo que puede comprar cualquiera, ¿no? Y os estáis preguntando, esto es como, pues no sé, es como estas páginas de copy trading o de social trading y todo esto, ¿no? Y yo, pues es parecido, es igual, pero no es lo mismo, ¿no? Entonces ahí me gustaría, por ejemplo, Javier, ¿qué es lo que te atrajo de las posibles opciones que tendrías para cotizar tu estrategia de hacerlo en Darwinex y no hacerlo en otros sitios?
Bueno, en primer lugar el tema de la escalabilidad, el poder tener capital invertido en tu operativa. Eso yo creo que es la novedad. Sobre todo, también volviendo a lo que dices de las demás plataformas de copy, pues que aquí la gente no ve la operativa. Entonces eso yo creo que también es un punto.
The operation here, so that's a point in favor of that. It gives you the opportunity to operate and to be sure that nothing is going to happen with your operations. David, you have some story about that with copies and everything. Yes. That's the part we were discussing with Juan, and essentially Darwinex is, as regards the rest of the brokers, it's something completely different. It's not different if you just want to operate, you want to trade with normally in your platforms, but having followers that want to invest in your strategy without suffering that they are copying your strategy, that's a big difference, a vital difference. That's at least from my point of view. There are lots of people who want to copy each other And that's, I think, the best formula. Darwinex gives us that opportunity to have followers, to have investors without running that risk of being copied or even being resold to some people, as we have had the case, for example. So some people say that nobody's going to copy, and you say yes, they are not going to copy until they see that, and you say if I can sell that and charge a 20% fee for that, and they will start doing it. So those are the main items, the main points that differentiate us. We have thought about the trader. You are the protagonist, not our platform. We have two algorithmic trader. Ali, I will reserve an additional part for him. Jesus, you are a minority. You are not operating with algorithms, are you? No, I do discretionary manual trading, fully manual, because I'm not capable to program a robot, so I don't intend to do it, not because I don't like it. I was going to make a mistake, so I prefer to do what I know about. What do you do? I'm specialized in technical analysis, and from then on, I present my scenarios for the future, and that's what I work upon. Nothing to do with robots or EAS or anything automatic. Not because I don't consider that that is a feasible way to work. I'm sure it is, but I'm fully unable to do that. Each one on his stuff. I'm not a programmer. I'm not a tech guy. I'm not an IT professional. I don't want to compete with multidisciplinary teams that I know that exist in banks. And in the end, the Forex market is a zero-value market. So someone has to lose in order for someone else to win. And competing with these teams and with these people in their own playing field, for me, that I'm not ready to do that, it's just heading for failure. So Jesus, we are seeing Jesus' strategy. We are telling you exactly what the strategy of these people are. We have been knowing Jesus for 3 years. The good ones are the ones that stay in the business, and the rest just rotate. And we are seeing that there were difficult times. Last year in October, there were moments of tension with sterling, where Jesus was trying to manage risk in order to minimize to manage the risk of his customers. There was an improvement in the sterling. We improved the algorithms, and there was a fall in the algorithms. And there were falls there. There were drops there that must be difficult to manage psychologically. How do you manage that? Well, it was, of course, a complex moment. My strategy, my way of working, lost 1.5%. In the algorithm, if you look at the marketed product, and nowadays you see a fall of 20%, but before that, prior to the last development, it was double that fall. It was 40-something%, while my strategy was 1.5%. So given the risk that I was ready to assume at that point in time, of course it's complex because it is our responsibility, because there are people who are investing behind you, and that's also really a responsibility. And that's difficult to manage and difficult to assume, because you know that you have people behind you. Okay, so this is a question for all of you. Ali, I'm reserving you a special part. When someone wants to sell their strategy, and you compete in a world where everyone is promising a lot, and you have all those platforms where you see curves that are even to infinite and beyond, how do you manage that? How are you able to, David, for example, to convince people that your strategy is a solid one? Well, I think that transparency is a key element. Transparency in operational terms, both for Darwin and also, in our case, also the strategy as such, is always important. we also try for people who contact us, we try to explain that we are not here to look for a boom or something like that with the idea to win 100% in 1 month or something like that. No, there are very good months, but because the strategy is like that, we always, in our case, for example, our strategy, there is an essential part of it, which is the breakout of volatility, to break with volatility. So when there are circumstances like in December with the rise in rates, for example, that takeoff that we see in December, there were two things there, where the European Central Bank cooled down the expectations, and then the Fed also raised rates. So those that affect euro, dollar, or any other currency, and that's a breakout. And if that is very powerful, we have a good or a bad result. But in any way, we are not always looking for results. When they ask, what are your expectations in terms of profit? We say, no, we are not looking for a profit expectation. We look at the drawdown. That's the most important part for us. We set an objective of not exceeding 20%, and if we reach 18%, our strategy, our pattern strategy at a certain point in time in balance, the balance, for example, in January, and then we believe that the peak, right now we believe that the peak will be, we have to be aware that there will always be fall. We expect it to be around 15, more or less. But I always like to emphasize that we take it as a philosophy of an investment fund, where we always recommend that it is recommendable to invest for at least 6 months. They would really laugh if you say 6 months. For them, that's a very short term for an investment fund. But in Forex, 6 months seems like crazy. But 6 months is the horizon that we estimate that is going to be positive for us, at least. We always believe that it is going to be positive. Okay, let's speak to Ali. Ali, before, more than anything, he is a customer. Before he was a trader, he's a trader. As the other three, he started as a Darwinex customer, but he has he outstood because he is very much into learning, machine learning, and he is one of those persons that process massive amounts of data. And I wanted to say that I would like Ali to explain how does he generate his strategies, and on the other hand, we make a very important announcement, and is that with the passing of time in Darwinex, we have accumulated a community of thousands of users, and we are going to start doing something which is using the data of the community of Darwinex in order to generate strategies, meta strategies based on the behavior of the community. And since we want to have the best with us doing this, and on the other hand, we give a lot of importance to the fact that the customers know that Darwinex is not using their information without paying that 20% of success fee, we wanted to put someone, a trader, whose intellectual property is on the platform. So 2 questions, Ali.
About algorithmic trading, how do you get to this world? And the other one is, starting as you are right now with your Darwinex Labs mission. Darwinex Labs es el hedge fund interno, de alguna manera.
It is the internal hedge fund that we are putting together within Darwinex in order to show to all of you that we can win investing in the good traders. Ali is going to be the responsible person for that, and he will tell us what are the first days.
My background is in mathematics and computer science, so my beginnings had nothing to do with financial trading at all. And the math I studied, my subspecialty was in Bayesian statistics, and basically taking large data sets and doing funky things with them to figure out if there are any sort of exploitable patterns or things we can use for actionable intelligence. For example, some of the things I did were taking, in the past, we're talking a long time ago, we're taking loads of data in the sort of healthcare industry, and finding patterns of disease that correlated with certain living conditions or geographies or things like that, and we churned that sort of data to come up with solutions. So similarly, that led me into quantitative finance over time. January 2006 is when I developed an interest in financial markets and applying my knowledge to them, and since then I've used a whole bunch of different streams of mathematical learning methodologies to apply to financial data and come up with ways to basically generate alpha, to generate returns, trying to beat transaction costs of trading, basically, and doing nothing more than that. So my approach has never been anything technical in the sense that it's never been related to technical analysis. So I'm not a chart reader. I don't remember the last time I used a chart to watch markets or anything like that. So I'm quite different that way. And our whole focus as machine learning and AI guys is to take large amounts of data, see if there's something that makes sense and is consistent, and is there a way to turn it into an investment strategy. And in a nutshell, that's what I do. And I've got 5 strategies with Darwinex that are all machine learning generated strategies that optimize themselves. So it's allows me to...
On that then, so given you've now been given a gift of a new data set, so can you share with people what's your first focus in going into Darwinex Labs? So what sort of things are we now working on?
Oh, wow, okay. So the Darwinex community is an amazing space of data for me and for everyone else involved, including Juan, Javier, and Borja, and other team members. And one of the most amazing things you'll see in our community data, which is you people and everyone else in the Darwinex community, is there are certain trends in our behavior that if we help along can generate so much more for the communities generating this data, if that makes sense. Like, you can...
Y bueno, lo voy a explicar, pero en esencia lo que...
I'm going to explain it, but in essence, we have seen that creating a database of user is that there is a set of systematic behaviors that the mass population has that generate valuable information, that up to now that was information that the big operators of the market used to benefit only themselves. And as part of the Darwinex vision, we believe that information does not belong to the big operators. It belongs to the collective group of traders, and the mission of Ali is to create strategies. I hope that those are winning strategies using the data of the community itself. Those strategies will be put in openly, will be offered openly, and you will be able to see them. And that has an advantage, that is that it is looking at what the whole community of users is doing, and it has a more relevant statistic significance. You will be able to purchase that. And the way to remunerate, to compensate the community of traders, of course, they have more merit, so they will also be paid that, and they will be paid 20% of success fee, and that 20% will also pay off the community according to their merits. And so what the hedge fund makes will become an additional remuneration for those of you that, apart from what you have as your assets under management, you will also obtain additional income. So, because what we want to do is to change the management market so that anyone can face the big hedge funds in the best possible conditions. And so, since what is interesting here is what they are, and perhaps you have questions now that you have heard what they are doing, I would like to go into a Q&A session. So please think about what you want to ask. And I'm going to ask a last question to the panel. What recommendation would you have for someone who is starting, someone who is starting? Someone who wants to make a living out of trading after your journey, what would you recommend for those people who want to make a living out of this? And if you have questions, please raise your hand and we will give a microphone to you so that you can ask your question. My recommendation, more than a recommendation, is what I have my experience at least, in in a nutshell, this is a very difficult world. Sometimes it is not what they tell you that it is, that you start with 100 euros and you become a millionaire in a couple of years. That's impossible. That does not exist, does not happen, and it is not feasible. And this is, as my colleagues that are algorithmic experts, that it requires a lot of programming, a lot of work, many hours. I'm a manual trader and a technical analyst, and that you have to be before the graphs for many hours, studying a lot of hours and a whole lot of preparation to reach this level of experience, to be able to get 15 or 20% a year. And that's what you can get to, what the market can give you. If you have a spectacular year, you can have 50 or 60% in 1 year, but that's not real for every year. Yeah, you are not going to get that every year. That's impossible. That is not real, and you have to bear that in mind. And what is, and that's it. So I would get rid of those crazy ideas, those sirens, songs, and really Darwin gives you that advantage, which is to be able to access investors and to leverage that, not with our money, but with the money of investors, and to be able to be profitable in some way without having to risk what you shouldn't be risking, or with the capital that you don't have access to. There was one question. Yes, good afternoon. My name is Javier. I'm also a trader with some years of experience, and I will ask you two questions, one for Ali and about data, and one for Juan. I follow you with, on the radio, and the first for Ali. After collecting the data in Darwinex, do you see any pattern in terms of economic limitation? I mean, in terms of a strategy, how much does it support in terms of money or market volume? When does it stop working? Did you detect anything, any level where things start to get more complex? And also, the second one would be, when are you going to have your platform? Are you going to launch a platform, or do you intend to launch a platform, trading platform?
Fantastic question. It's on capacity. During our work, we've, without divulging any proprietary information just as yet, that's a brilliant question, because some of the work we've done collectively on the community, here's an example of how much more powerful this is. Every individual strategy, including my own or these gentlemen's, has a capacity, if we're lucky, in the millions, okay? Our community as a whole, the research we're doing, I can't give you exact figures at the moment, because I just can't, but I can give you a very fair idea that they are at least with extra 3 zeros. So we're working on strategies right now. We're seeing patterns that allow us to scale much, much larger than we've ever seen in individual capacities.
O sea, un punto en línea con eso.
In line with that, a broker is a paradox. It is a company where customers pay for giving them data. There are retailer customers who find inefficiencies that can slide when they have 2 million, for example. That is one of the notes that we have from 0 to 10, where the score that we have, we give you an idea, but what motivates us is to give you the possibility of having winning strategies which are not very scalable, and that adds the collective data of the whole community, give us the possibility, or give us some data that are very valuable. So there were companies that wanted to buy those data in order to access that proprietary information that we can, of course, not sell because it doesn't belong to us, it belongs to the customers. That from then on we can perhaps change the world of hedge funds, because you operate with an advantage of information that is what has caused that abuse on the part of the big institutions and the big operators. And regarding your second question, we would love to do that, of course, but this launch that we did with this platform has changed many things, but we have changed all the algorithms that are working behind in order to work in real time. So that's the first step in order to create that diagnostic algorithm tools to active trading tools that allow us to get the best scores when it comes to investing. That won't be in 2017, but that's the next step for the future. Another question. We have only 2 minutes. So if you have more questions, raise your hand.
Buenas, me llamo José Manuel y me gusta.
Hello, my name is José Manuel. I'd like to ask Ali about the type of, if you use, the kind of software that you use to develop, if you use neurological networks, and also the patterns that you look for in that data and the amount of data you're using. Thank you.
Great question. So the tools I use, the stack we use at Darwinex Labs, and the tools I use personally. Personally, I use Python and R. Those are my 2 main programming tool stacks for analyzing and studying data and creating all my any trading strategy I work on is built in Python and R. Some parts of the work involve C++ for anything that involves speed. So that's to give you an idea of the infrastructure. Usually, from a data scientist's perspective, somebody who's a quant strategy generator, for things that are high-frequency trading, if you're looking for a very high-frequency scalping solution, you'll want a more robust, more platform-specific architecture that involves perhaps C++. If it's something more intense, and if it's something to do with machine learning or generating AI-based solutions, then you'll probably find that languages like Python and R really support you in your effort, because you spend less time doing all the complex calculations and more time implementing the strategy. So I find that those are very useful to me, and I think to anyone who wants to get involved in quantitative development, your first point of contact in the technology stack should be Python and R, definitely.
Hay una última pregunta ahí, me entiendo que ya es...
I guess this is the last question now. Yeah, because there's no more time, so. Thank you. My name's Daniel. I want to ask a question to David, and Darwinex in general as well. From the viewpoint of a trader as a user, do you believe that what you're doing today, do you think there could be more communication between the person that's got a strategy and a possible investor? Do you think that'll be good for you to see that you're a real person on the one hand, and also knowing that it's actually a professional, the person who's doing it? Would that increase the number of investors? And for Darwinex in probably in general, from a company perspective, well, the risks you can take trying to innovate in the world of banking. I mean, you're going to get part of their market share, creating a hedge fund, or doing something that might take capital somewhere else. What do you think? How do you think you can protect yourselves from that? And if you're planning to if you have a strategy to try to get more volume, so there's more money in the web itself, so there's more money for traders to increase their profits and be able to do this full time. Thank you.
A ver, hay un punto que es muy...
Well, there's one thing that's very important, which is what you have identified, and it's trust. This is the first time we do this. We have here several of Darwinex suppliers in front of you. I think that's good. Knowing that there's somebody, someone who's able to do something full-time, like all the speakers here do, that shows that we're talking with a person that might not be working in a bank, but they have the perseverance and they are trustworthy. And that's what I want for my money. So that's positive. Of course, there's a blurred line, which is the regulation, because we are the managers here. We manage risk of our strategy, not them. So the strategy that the investor buys might not be the same one they are using, but we don't really want to go a bit beyond just saying that. About your second question, how we're going to make sure that we get more investment money, I think that we have to be a role model, really. The moment we prove that Darwinex users show that they can make money, that you can make money with people with a talent like their talent, like the speaker's talent, there's nothing more viral than a successful story. So many times they tell me, if we're going to have some sort of institutional investment vehicle, and the answer is yes, because we think that we could be making more money, the community could be making more money, and we're going to try to foster that. But we are an open market, and we think that aggregators and institutions that just gather the money of lots of people make no sense. And we are always going to work with the trained retailers. So we want to train people so they can invest more without needing to use other platforms. And last, about being afraid of the banking sector and the system. Well, I don't know. Sometimes you have a bad time because you try to be inspired by the people who really went through difficult situations. And Gandhi, when they were with the liberation movement in India, people were laughing at him. You know, a 40-kilogram guy that sitting down and not fighting, you're going to get to do anything. And he said, well, in the beginning they'll ignore us, then they'll laugh at us, then they'll face us, and last will be won. So I think that customers know how to choose. And if you do what customers want and they choose you, you earned it. And if customers come from nowhere else, well, the issues, from the guys who didn't treat them properly. And we now see that, well, maybe the financial sector will have betrayed the trust we have bestowed upon them. So, well, that's all. Thank you. We're outside on our stand. Oh, there was a question for Juan. Yes, really briefly. As I told you earlier, I'm very transparent, and I think that's the way to go. I am not a professional economist, but my partner and I, we know very well what we're doing. And at the end of the day, after many years, you say, well, this is what we've done, this is how we manage it, and this is our philosophy for the future. And we don't try to manipulate anything so they limit our risk. We just have a trading account, we manage it, and in Darwin you get the result that you get. That's it, really. And that's all we will keep on doing. Well, Javier, WYH, Ali, PLF, and more things, Jesus, OPK. Well, I feel proud to be sitting next to them, and I hope it's been interesting to you. Thank you.